some more.
Yo, what's good, people? Izzy Max here, back with the breakdown crew for the Week 10. Go ahead and say hello, guys.
Hey, what's going on? Ryan here, as always.
What's up, guys? Matt here.
So, this week, I'm just going to say it's kind of a fun week for a lot of coaches. We're just going to start. There's really nothing more to say. Our first match here is Hub versus John Boy. Matt, go ahead and start. I know you have more to say about this than we do.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of criticism here. There's a little bit of disagreement among us about what was good here, what maybe should have done better in prep and play, but which I think is good. I appreciate some healthy disagreement, but I think I was a little disappointed to not see Dustclops here. I think to me, like I get that having both Will-O-Wisp and Strength Sap on your Trick Room Ghost type is nice, because Dustclops obviously only has the Will-O-Wisp. I personally think that would have been enough. But I think what I would have really liked to see is Dustclops going for the Trick Room, and then having maybe Gigalith either as a lead or in the back. I like the weakness policy a lot, but I would have really liked to see a max Gigalith in Trick Room. I think with what Hub brought, and even the rest of what's on her draft, I think is really, really weak to that particular kind of mode. Maybe you go for like a Dustclops and Persian lead and fake out Trick Room turn 1, and then you have like a slow parting shot turn 2 to get the Gigalith in safely, something like that maybe. I think that's really the reason that I actually voted for John Boy to win this week. I felt like if he brought the right stuff, then he had a great matchup that was difficult for Hub to deal with.
Yeah. Maxwell and I did disagree slightly with that. I don't disagree that Dustclops was good here. I actually think it's very possible that you could have subbed one of these mons out for Dustclops. But I do like Jellicent a lot, mostly because that mode that you just described is very solid, but it loses to a Max Quake from Snorlax like instantly. And like having Jellicent be your anti-Snorlax mode makes way too much sense to me. And there's also the fact that like Pyro Balls are still kind of free, so you can't always guarantee that you're going to be able to Will-O-Wisp down Hub's team, because if the Cinderace isn't changing types a whole lot, it's hard to call when you should Will-O-Wisp that thing. So having Strength Sap there as an option, and to recover off of the other mons that were there, I think is really smart. And he also specifically said in the notes that Jellicent was also there to help with the Urshifu, which I think is smart too. Because it pretty much beat both Cinderace and Snorlax in one fell swoop. I don't disagree that with what she brought, Clops would have been really good. I actually probably would have considered either swapping out Gallade or Blastoise for Clops, or maybe even Arcanine. But that's kind of my thought. I don't think the issue there is that. I also think maxing the Blastoise that one game was a little suspect, just because the set that he had didn't really work as well with maxing there. Mm-hmm. But I do still think this was a good game, and I actually want to give Hub some huge props for that Urshifu. Hub hasn't really used offensive Urshifu like that. It's mostly been a cleaner, and it hasn't been the main Maxmon, but it's like a really good matchup against John Boy.
Yeah, and she kind of bluffed the choice band by by maxing it game 1. So when it came up against the Jellicent in game 2, there's no reason it should have died to a Thunder Punch, but because it was banded and he didn't know it, it just died.
Yeah, and also the fact is that banded Surging Strikes dealt well with a Gigalith weakness policy as well, which did come. Sure. And because it multi-targets, you get around any kind of Sturdy or Sash that could have even been on or any kind of Sturdy from Gigalith. So Gigalith isn't even usually living its one guaranteed hit.
Yeah. Togetic got 2 kills. I think that was the highlight of her game. After talking to her, she's like, I don't care if I won or lost. Togetic got 2 kills. So
Fair enough.
Hey ho.
That's fun to see. We have a couple of fairy types this week getting more kills than expected.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
That's for sure.
Yeah, going on to our next one, we have Brock and Dark King. This was probably the best match of the week.
I'd agree.
I am going to preface this by saying, Dark King, we are not crapping on you. Your team was prepped very, very well. We just think Brock kind of outplayed more in game 3 than game 2.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But like, kudos to your building. Your sets were fire.
Yeah, no, they were fire, and they definitely worked, especially game 1.
Mhm.
That game 1, like, you just won, like, cold. Like, 7 kills on Slurpuff. Like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But literally, like, here's the thing. When Maxwell and I were talking, and the deal is, obviously, Dark King always wins game 1.
Yep.
The problem is Brock always wins game 3.
Yes. The
because
crit, the crit
the
only
crit
mattered
saved a
for
diff
differential.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it saved a diff point, but the match was already set. Game 2, there was a crit that did matter, debatably, because the Incineroar was max HP, max defense, bold, so it should have lived the max Quake from the Mudsdale and had been able to do some chip onto Mud, and then Hyper Beam from Porygon Z could have KO'd it. However, I'm not 100% sure if Brock still would have had counterplay to that, and I think it's possible he did, considering the sets he had.
Well, Mudsdale was the only thing on the field, so like it was a 3v1 at that point.
Right. So
yeah,
that definitely
that
could
crit
have gone differently.
Yeah, I think that crit is more important than the crit in game 3.
Yeah, but I do think Brock overall played this set better.
You could tell. You could tell between the games. Like game 1, he got rolled. Game 2 was closer. He knew kind of what was going to work, and then game 3, he knew exactly what he was doing to win.
Yeah, and that kind of shows. And I think that's kind of the story here is that I really think either player could have won this set, and I would commend both players for this set regardless of the result.
Yeah, this was a really good game from both guys.
Yeah, it was the best match of the week. And I definitely am going to commend both players. However, seeing the W next to Brock in this case, to me, I like it a little bit more as the result, even though it may have come down to a crit, just simply because of the fact that I think Brock adapted better game to game.
Yeah, and the sets that Dark King brought, how they are very powerful, and if Brock would have made one mistake, this could have very well been like a 6-0.
Yeah, he would have just lost, like flat out.
Yeah, Brock really had to play out of his mind to keep that Slurpuff under wraps. And well, he did.
That's what happened.
Dark King had an idea that would 100% winning the game if Brock made a mistake, but he didn't. So I think that's kind of what happened. Also, what the biggest adaptation that Brock made was not targeting the Riolu because he knew it couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Because in game 1 and 2, he targeted the Riolu, and the things around Riolu was the things doing damage, since it wasn't Prankster Riolu.
Yeah, and he just realized that.
He realized it game 3 and was just like, all right, like it's gonna set up the Slurpuff and then do nothing the rest of the game. And he finally realized that, and then I think that's really what ended up leading Brock to the guaranteed win in game 3.
Yeah, I agree. Still a great set.
Yeah.
Huge props to both players. This was definitely the best game of the week, and also honestly the best play we've seen from both players.
Oh, for sure. Matt, I know you didn't really say much about this one. Me and Ryan are the only ones that watched it. But what are your thoughts, just overall?
Yeah, well, like you said, I didn't get a chance to see it, so not much. I just I love that the Slurpuff and Riolu went in. I might have to even though the recording you said was a little wonky, I might have to ask you guys to send that to me after we're done here.
Yeah.
If it's as good as you say it is, so I might like to see it.
Yeah,
it's a very good set.
It was a really good set. Moving on, we have C-Rad and Jizzy. The first and only probably 8-0 of the season for anybody.
Yeah.
I will preface this by saying I know C-Rad was kind of mad at himself for getting that turn 1 crit on the U-turn because the Silvally was intimidated. With that being said, I don't think it really mattered because I still think this would have been a 7-0
Yeah.
anyway.
And it was just a nice clean win for C-Rad.
Yeah.
It looks like he prepped well and had everything he needed. So.
And watching the match, I really don't know what Jizzy could have done differently at all.
I think it was. I think you're absolutely right. Even if he doesn't get that crit, he still wins the match. And considering what everybody's placement is right now, the differential here really doesn't matter. I think that the 8-0 is like it's a really cool thing to sort of have on his league resume, you could say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it matters that much. I don't think he should feel bad about that crit. It's really not a big deal. What I will say is that I think his prep for this week was very good. I think really the result that we're looking at here is a combination of good prep and good play from C-Rad combined with a little bit of sloppy play from Jizzy. I think the Dark type Silvally and the Babiri Rhyperior, especially with the flamethrower on Rhyperior over instead of like Fire Punch. I don't know what the calc is on that, but of course, running a random flamethrower on something is for Durant is, we've been seeing that since Gen 7 with Kartana. So same kind of idea. It's I think that was really fun to see. So good prep and good play from him. From Jizzy, yeah, I think things were a little bit sloppy. I don't know why if you're not carrying like an Akaberry or a Focus Sash, I don't know why you Dynamax your Durant in front of a Salazzle with no like other kind of speed control. I know that I think because the -1 multi attack KO the Indeedee, I think we've been pretty consistently seeing Indeedee without any bulk, which is kind of a problem, and it also makes the Psychic Seed a little bit more confusing. And I think the adjustment to Luxray in Game 2 was not so great, especially considering Rhyperior was there. Intimidate's good for it, but the ground typing is probably a bit too much. So those are my thoughts anyway.
Yeah, not really much to say about this one, so we'll go ahead and move on. We have you and Nin. This, honestly, in my opinion, it was a good match, and I think Nin being kind of unexperienced in doubles kind of led him to a loss. At least
because he could have won Game 2.
Yeah. So, I'll let Matt talk about this one because he made some good points while we weren't recording.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I think I definitely know what you're talking about with the switch into Barraskewda Game 2. I was aware that was a risky switch at the time, but given the way he was playing and it kind of felt like he was going for the obvious plays a lot of the time. I think with less experienced players, you can rely on them a little bit more to just click those super effective hits, which he had 2 of that turn and went for both. So that's why I felt part of me felt safe doing that for that reason, but I also felt like I just had to do that in order to win the game, and actually managed to KO the Togedemaru, because I also felt like Trick Room might be going up that turn, which might have won him the game if I didn't get Barraskewda in next to Follow Me. So that was my objective there. It worked out. Also, since you guys mentioned the inexperience kind of hurting him here, I think the most glaring issue regarding that was that he kept ally switching in front of Duraludon and even once in front of Barraskewda. The propeller tail on Barraskewda is a little bit more obscure, but I figured after the first time when I targeted the Inteleon with a Thunderbolt from Duraludon, he ally switched and it still hit the Inteleon. I figured he would have known after that, but the fact that he kept ally switching after that really hurt him. So that it did. I think a lot of this match did sort of come down to inexperience, like you said.
Yeah, he could have won Game 2 had he double targeted down the Duraludon switching out into the Barraskewda, because Maxwell and I both saw that, and we both even commented like aloud. I was like, I feel like if Nin had targeted down Duraludon there, he wins the set.
Yeah.
But I understand why he didn't. And yeah, it's just I feel like it was just kind of inexperience. It's telling though that he had you in a position where you had to make a switch like that in game 2. Because despite that inexperience, he still played and prepped really well. Togedemaru in particular was a really good bring here.
Yeah, the Togedemaru actually made me regret not putting body press on my Duraludon. That's something I was considering in prep. I ended up just going for Draco Meteor, even though I never clicked it, just because on the off chance he goes with the Unova Darmanitan, that was one of the few things that I had to one-shot it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't. I guess I sort of did under prep for Togedemaru. I did have Stalwart obviously goes around the Lightning Rod. I did have Discharge on Rotom, even though he turned out not to be Lightning Rod. But yeah, it was, given what I had, it was a little bit more difficult than it should have been to actually kill it. So I did have to rely on Barraskewda a little bit more. But he really didn't bring anything that I was like really prepping hard for, or that I was really afraid of. I was surprised. I was really surprised to see no Sableye. I was so terrified of Sableye, specifically Prankster Will-O-Wisp, that I had a Lumberry on the Barraskewda and a Rostberry on the Ferrothorn, just because I was that terrified of getting burned. And I even had a Mental Herb on the Togekiss, because I've seen him use Taunt on Sableye before, so I wanted to be able to redirect Gouaches and at least more than once. So and then Darmanitan, I was surprised to see not hit the field. He likes to bring Weavile, Virizion a lot. Neither of them were even in team preview here. The Inteleon I was worried about as an offensive threat. He brought Focus Sash Screens, which was
cool.
Not at all what I was expecting. So a lot of stuff that I did not anticipate ended up coming, and a lot of the stuff I was afraid of just wasn't even here at all.
I will say for the future, if he does come back for next season, this match is probably the most promising thing I've seen out of him.
Oh yeah, no, hard agree. That was such a good set.
I will say the one thing that surprised me and that I thought was really, really cool was the actual Max Clefable with the Flamethrower, Fire Blast, whatever it had.
Yeah.
To deal with the Pharaoh. That was actually a really cool play.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed this set. I think that even though Nin is out of the playoffs block, I'm glad that he is still putting forth that effort into having good games and improving his game. And this was a really good showing of that. You should definitely be happy with how that went.
Yep. So next game,
Maxwell the Memer. Why? Okay, so Matt, we're in agreement that we can't decide if we love or hate this game, right?
Yeah, it's one of the two. There's no in between.
Yeah. So here's how this went for folks that haven't seen it. So game 1, Tay won pretty well. Maxwell decided that Gmax Butterfree was a god for some reason.
Heck yeah.
And went for it, and it did not work. When Helping Hand Max when the Helping Hand Max didn't kill the Ludicolo, I was like, oh my god. So there's that. Game 2, Maxwell managed to pull a win because Butterfree did this funny thing called Sleep the Ludicolo, and had that not happened, Maxwell would have lost. And then game 3, Maxwell actually played really well and did get a solid win and didn't bring Butterfree, which was cursed.
My goal was to just get a game win with Butterfree. That was my goal.
And
I did that, and then I turned around with game 3 and knew how to win.
Which, like, if you're using Butterfree, you're already counting on RNG, like, nonsense to get you a win, because, like, it's Butterfree, and that's what it does when it Gmaxes. But, like, still, that was ridiculous. I will say, this was a good, like, Tay played game 1 and game 2 perfectly. If you hadn't gotten a sleep, Tay, like, cleanly destroyed you.
The funny thing is, he prepped hard for the Butterfree, and I've never done this before.
Yeah, no, seriously, he had so much tech for it. I was like, oh my goodness.
The Specs Toxtricity was really, really cool.
Yeah, that was a neat bring.
Yeah, I think the Cobalion was a bait.
Yeah, it was.
And maybe the Hydreigon as well. But yeah, if you watch the game though, I actually almost pulled game 1 in my favor with the
Braviary just sitting there. Yeah.
Braviary did more than I expected, given that it was the last thing sitting on the field by itself in that game.
Yeah, if he didn't have Ice Beam on the Pelipper, I think I actually win game 1.
Which is nuts.
Which is crazy. But yeah, I was having fun with this match. Like Matt said, though, it meant less to me than it did Tay. And seeing how well he played actually, like, put a smile on my face even if I would have lost.
Yeah, I was about to say, like real talk, like, you should have lost this set.
Oh, I should have 100% lost.
Like, literally, a sleep roll won you the entire set, which is ridiculous. Like, you straight up should have lost game 2, and game 3 shouldn't have happened.
Yep.
Sorry, Tay. Yeah.
I mean, you do have the luxury of doing that when you're locked for playoffs, though. It's not something I personally would have done. But if you have some weird option on a Pokemon that you can mess around with and you risk a loss without really risking anything happening to your playoff spot, then yeah, fair enough if you wanna go that route.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if he didn't bring Toxtricity, Butterfree went in.
Yeah, it really did.
Toxtricity was the only reason Butterfree didn't actually do a lot of work.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that game. Love it or hate it, it is what it is. And then lastly, not much to say. Hunter, he got really caught up on time and couldn't play his match. So Toxic does get the dub. Hunter had to do a lot of things had to fall in Hunter's lap for him to make playoffs. So this isn't like super huge. However, this does put Toxic cleanly in the playoff race.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I expect Hunter to come back next season, guns blazing, with a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, I do too.
So that it is what this is. Toxic sent me his sets and like his game plan, and I thought it was a really good game plan. I'm not really going to go into depth with what it was, just in case he has some like hidden tech for some other matches. But it was from what he sent me, it looks solid.
Yeah, he went. Maxwell went over that whole plan with me, and I agree. Toxic, that was a good game plan. I don't think it always works against every possible lead because nothing does, but I honestly think that that's one of the more solid preps I've seen from you. Mm-hmm. And I think there was a lot of cool ideas there. So that's just a little shout out.
Yeah. Matt, anything from you? I mean, it's a forfeit win.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little disappointing. I mean, Hunter was mostly out of the playoff race anyway. I've said in a couple of past breakdown videos that I was looking forward to see him pushing through these last few weeks and hopefully making playoffs. Unfortunately, not happening. But perhaps I think we sort of already knew that because he was going to be having to rely on some other people above him losing matches as well at this point. So, yeah, right. But as you said, it does put Toxic in the race. We will, which I guess is sort of what's coming up next, right?
Yep. Locks, outs, and bubbles. The only thing that has changed is Hunter is now out. And Tay and Toxic are fighting for that 8 slot. So, in order for Toxic to actually make it, Tay needs to lose and he has to win. If they both win, Tay makes it. If they both lose, Tay makes it. The only opportunity for Toxic to make it because of this big differential is for Tay to lose, Toxic to win.
Yeah.
So
which seems unlikely given the matchups. I don't want to toot my own horn much.
Yeah, Tay has an easier matchup. Toxic has one of the harder matchups. With that being said, though, don't ever take the apples out of Jizzy's basket because he has played very well against some opponents. So
yeah, and also like, if there's one thing about Toxic, it's that he is surprising. And actually, real talk, I think he has a pretty solid matchup against your team, Matt.
We'll find out, I guess.
Yeah. Other than that, yeah, nothing really to say here. The last slide we have is going to be the playoff picture. currently, if the season ended today, this is what it looks like. There are going to be a few matches this week that could change things up. Me and Hub, Charl, or C-Rad and Dark King, and then I think that's really about it.
Yeah, it's just John Boy Brock and
well, John Boy plays Nin. Brock is supposed to play Hunter, so I don't know how that's going to end up. So it's looking like this is probably what it's going to end with.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to point out is the first match over here on this side is Matt and Dark King. Your only loss is your first round.
Yeah, that is true.
We'll see how it goes.
I don't think either of us are going to have exactly the same team, since we have to prep for the entire playoff bracket. So
no. Okay, so yeah, this is a good time to explain it. You prep every week. Just before the game starts, you guys trade team sheets.
Oh, that is news to me. I was okay.
Yeah, you don't prep for the entire playoff. You prep for your match, but you trade team sheets. So your opponent is going to know your moves, items, and that's it. All right, move item.
Okay.
Yeah, moves and items. It's going to be like the Players Cup.
Abilities as well. And
was it abilities on the Players Cup?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And Gmax or not.
Well, yeah. So yeah, it is going to be a little bit different since this is a quote-unquote online playoff. I wanted to kind of give it a try since that is looking like the format we're going to be in for actual VGC play for the next year.
Right.
So I wanted to give it a shot since these guys are improving, getting a feel for the VGC scene. I wanted them to kind of get used to, if they wanted to actually compete, how it would actually go. So yeah, that's kind of the thing. You do get to prep for your opponent every week. Just right before the game starts, you do have to trade team sheets.
Okay.
So yeah, it is going to be interesting. There are a couple teams that I think that does hurt just a little bit because they do kind of rely on the factor of surprise with their sets. However, I do think it will cause some more interesting gameplay.
Yeah.
True, yeah.
So that's my ending thoughts. If you guys have anything else to say, this is kind of a quicker video.
Not a whole lot. Real quick too, with playoffs, Maxwell, you and I were talking about doing match or set breakdowns basically.
Yep.
Instead.
Since these videos do kind of go 30 to 40 minutes, I can speed up a video in editing to last about 10 minutes with 4 matches. That's 40 minutes of breakdown. And I'm thinking that's probably what we're going to do instead of these the slides.
So we're likely going to be doing that starting
when playoffs.
2 weeks from now.
Yeah, 2 weeks from now. So be on the lookout for that. That's going to be interesting. A little more interactive than what these slides are.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything from you, Matt?
No, I think that does it for this week.
Okay. I guess I will see you all in the next one. So peace.